So, it has been a while since I've pointed the camera at this thing or even had a good look at it. Pretty much got it running and driving and braking, and then moved it into my new shed. And yeah, I pretty much just stole a whole heap of bits from it. Currently doesn't run or drive at the moment. I stole the rebuilt brake calipers from it and put it on my white wagon. I had brake issues with that just before prom. Also stole the shifter from this and put that in my white wagon because I liked the shifter in this, and the fact that it had lights for the instrument panel means it was more legal than the B&M one, so that went into the wagon. I didn't really need it for this. It's just sitting around. It's also got a massive, and I mean massive, translake. Yeah. Alright, I'm going to give myself an easy job to start things off, and we're just going to finish off the wiring on this. If you know how to wire in a tacho, skip right ahead, but if you want to watch, keep watching then. Some of the things you'll need to look somewhat professional is a wire stripper like this, good old heat shrink to hide your dodgy soldering job, and some connections. Try and buy a somewhat more expensive than the cheapest one you can get, because you'll end up going through half a dozen before you find a good one. Saying that, this is the cheapest one I could find. I'm going to have to lengthen some wires, so I've got some wire there, and I'm going to put an inline fuse in for this red one that will go to the ignition or the fuse panel. So as for the wirings, as I said, the red goes to the fuse box. White, I can either put it into the fuse box as well, or I can bridge it into the headlights. I haven't figured out black, earth, and green, which has already been lengthened, thankfully. I'm going to be redoing that though. That is 18-year-old me right there. Absolutely stunning. This one will go to the negative on the coil. I don't know if that's what you have to do for when you're running a electronic ignition. I don't know what you do for points, because I've never tried setting up a tacho on a points car. Well, a car with a points ignition, I should say. So if you do know and want to leave that in the comments, go right ahead. Otherwise, maybe in the future I'll do it. I don't know. We'll see. right, so that's them all soldered in. It's a bit too much on that one. That one's about spot on. That one's a little bit inconsistent. What I like to do is I like to heat up the metal with the soldering iron and then introduce the solder to it. I find that's the best way to solder it in. I've never actually looked up how to solder or whatnot. I just, you know, gave it a crack, and, you know, it doesn't turn out that bad. You know, it's not a big blob of shit on there. Make sure it's nice and hot. So I'm just going to fold them over and put some heat shrink on. Alright, so I've got him sitting back in his place. For this one, I'm going to run it through the choke hole, or I'm going to run the wiring through the choke hole. To make my life a bit easier, I'm going to take this lower panel off and shove him out the way so I can put the wires in the most neatest route that I can, because it really matters on this one where the wiring goes and how neat it is. I mean, look at the rest of the car. It's an absolute work of art. But, yeah, in all seriousness, I do want it to be somewhat neat. There's no point just putting the wires wherever they'll fit. The earth, I'm probably going to earth out on the column, the one that goes to the coil, because this is a 3-speed column. At the base plate, it will have a hole for where the clutch cable would have went through, so I'm going to run the one that goes to the coil through there for now. I do plan on relocating the coil up under the dash, so in the future I can swap that out, and I'll probably still have enough length there. But yeah, let's get this lower panel off and we'll start fitting up wires where they're meant to go. Alright, so I've got the lower panel off and I've dropped down the fuse panel. I come across this. There is a snapped pink wire. Now, this might not be alarm bells for anyone who's just recently started watching my videos, but if you go back and watch all the old videos, one of the problems I had with this car, even before I started filming and put the V8 in it, was that I had to run a hot wire on this car, because it would, if the key was in the start position, it would start and keep running as long as I held it there, but as soon as it went to the on position, it would cut out. This pink wire goes to the ignition switch, and this should be the 9-volt wire, the constant 9-volt, because when starting position, 12-volt, and then when it flicks back to on, this one's a bit dicky, doesn't flick back. When it flicks back to the on, it's consistent 9-volt. So that might have been my problem all along, and I don't need to run a hot wire. Saying that, because I've converted to electronic ignition, I need to bridge the yellow wire and the pink wire up the top in the ignition switch there, so that I get constant 12-volt for the HEI, because electronic ignition needs constant 12-volt where a points distributor will not. So yeah, that's a bit more work for me. That's gonna, well, it looks like it's there now, but it's not. That's gonna be a bit of fun trying to get into there and try and solder something on and whatnot, but hopefully that will fix some of my wiring problems I've had with this. Don't worry about them. That's for my reverse lights, which I don't currently have. But yeah, the more you dig in, the more you learn. Also, that's a dead mouse. How the fuck did that get in there? And you see his little hand and his little tail? Well, my mousetrap worked great. If my mousetrap was a 1980 HZ1 tonner. Fantastic. All right, now that I've finished repairing cut wires that I didn't know were there, finding mice in the car, we're gonna fit up these ones. Now, red will be ignition source, white will be lighting. So for the white, I'm gonna put it to this one, which is the instrument illumination. And for the ignition source. I'm going to do it to this pink one, or these pink ones here, because the pink ones go to the ignition switch, and as soon as I get ignition, I'll get power to that. So I'm going to obviously cut these down, neaten them up a little bit. Probably I'll join them in, or cable tie them up there, and then I'll make them fit a bit nicer in there instead of having 50 feet of wiring. So that's all done. Any electricians on there are probably cringing at the work I've just done. And all right, so the coil ends all done for the tacho. This is the said yellow wire that goes to the positive on the coil. That's the one that I need to bridge up under the ignition switch, or on the ignition switch. The blue wire here, I'm about to do the El Delito on, because that is for the oil sender, which is now this guy. I kind of did have an oil pressure gauge, but I had to rob the fitting down at the oil pump full of that HJ wagon. But I'll just grab another oil fitting, brass fitting, sorry. All right, but I want to delete, the green one is for water temp, which again, there. I'm going to delete that and the blue one because they are really not needed. What I do is, they've got a little bit in them that goes like that and presses against the inside of the plastic. And what I do is, I get a screwdriver. I don't know what kind of screwdrivers these are for. I use these to tighten up the screws in my dad's glasses when they come loose. I put that in there, lever him a little bit, and then they just pull out. But saying that, it'll take me 3 to 4 working days to get this one out. As you can see, they've got a little bit in there, and that's what clips into the plastic. So what you want to do is, I'm just doing a demonstration. You want to put it in this side of the connection, not where the spade connector would go, the opposite. Push it in, you should be able to hear it click, and then just pull it out from the back. I did actually film it, but the camera angle was bad and all you saw was my arm. So that's not helpful at all. All right, so here we have my old Pro Ratchet B&M shifter. I really like this shifter, but I'll be the first to admit that there are better shifters on the market than this. Also, this is going all rusty, so you can't really see it. Maybe if I go in the light. As you can see, it's all rusty. This is only a couple of years old. One of the main differences between Aeroflow and B&M is that their bolts are reversed. So this is the small side where where an Aeroflow would be the bigger side, and vice versa. B&M's the bigger hole and Aeroflow's the smaller hole. So what I'm just going to do is I'm going to swap hands with the camera, drop that. I'm just going to bolt him like that. This pedestal's going. I liked it at the time, but now I don't like it. But for time's sake, that'll go in the hole. So that'll keep me happy and it'll keep the car moving. I'm not going to spend any more time on this, talking about it. I've got a video where I install a shifter, so yep, it'll be in next time you see it. Just finishing up with the shifter cable. One of the things Aeroflow give you with their kit for their shifter that I put in this initially is they give you an R-clip instead of a split pin to go in the little bevel, and I really like that idea over the traditional split pin, so I'm going to keep going with this. Might not be new news to some people, but it's new news to me. So I'm going to put it out there. I'm going to be putting it on this way so it can't be knocked off, obviously. Yeah, I'm going to get down there and line that trans fluid and finish him up. So I've now finished up doing the shifter cable. I've done that oil line to the gauge and the vacuum line to the booster. Now I can start going on with the gauges. If you didn't know what I meant by those Scotch connectors, this is what they look like. So pretty much you can put two in there, one comes out the other end, and then you just fold this bloke over and he pushes this pin in, and job's done. It's good for things like this. Also grab some more fuses because half of them are blown. Also found these at my local Auto Pro. I had a real hard time finding these for the HJ wagon. I ended up buying 3 off eBay for like $12. I paid $3.50 for this, so very happy. I couldn't find them anywhere local, and just by surprise they were staring me right in the face. So yeah, happy about that, because yeah, they're not really a common thing these days. But saying that, I could pull these out the gauges. So I've got to lengthen one of these and then join one of them up. So that'll make my life a bit easier, that I don't have to take the gauges out and whatnot. So, all right, let's get this soldering iron hot and get into it. Back in the car. I haven't wired up the gauges yet. I've got a hot battery in it. I've got the coil off because I don't want the car to fire. I'm going to crank it over and see if I build oil pressure. The coil's off just in case it doesn't build oil pressure, but it wants to fire straight away. That's the end of the motor. So the coil is off because I don't want it to fire. The rear wheels are also off the ground, just in case I've messed up somewhere with the shifter. This car currently has no brakes, so if it is in gear, it will just take off. So rear wheels in the air. I'm going to crank it over. If it builds oil pressure, I'll hook the coil up. I'll key it over again. We'll see if it will start and keep running off the key. If not, I'm going to drop the column and bridge the pink and yellow wire at the ignition switch, hence why it's still apart here. So enough talking, let's see if it will do the thing. And the battery's not good. Shut that down right there because there's no oil. Well, the gauge isn't reading anything, but the oil's not moving in the line either. All right, so I tried again. It was still super slow picking up oil through that oil line. I'm just going to bite the bullet and rip the oil pump off and do what I always do, split it, pack the gears with Vaso and try again. Because to me, it's telling me it hasn't got the incentive there, the vacuum, to draw it up. And I don't want to hurt it. I haven't hurt it, you know, over 10 years of owning it. There's no point rushing things and doing it now, so let's pull it off. That's moving a lot faster than it did previously. And look at that, we've already got oil pressure. It's time to shut it down. Alright, so since this thing's got oil pressure, it's not far off of being able to be run, and I want it to stop. The problem with me wanting to get it stopped is I need to bleed the brakes, and normally it's a two-man job, but you know, I have COVID, so it's a one-man job now. So how I'm going to do it is I'm going to use this little vacuum pump here. These are really handy. It won't get it good enough to get it on the road, but it'll get it good enough just to start and stop and whatnot. So put my spanner on there. Make sure you've got it in the right spot so that you can turn it and you don't set it all up and it's like you've got it set up in the wrong way. You've got the spanner set up in the wrong way. So what I like to do before I put these on is, these are about a bit of a universal fit, so I like to wipe a bit of grease on the nipple, just so that it can create a suction seal. I can't find the nipple. Right there. Yeah, I just like to put a bit of grease on that nipple just because the fittings that they give you are a bit of a universal one, and these are old cars with odd or AF fittings. So I've cranked that up to about 25 psi. I'm going to crack it. No, I'm not going to crack it. What the fuck? Who did that up? There we go. And you want to keep it above 0. 10 psi is what you want to keep it above, but 0 over there. This one's not really showing much. Oh, I nearly got some bubbles I can see them. Yeah. Yeah, it's coming. And it's a lovely brown colour. Now it's starting to fly. I think it had a bit of an air blockage. Another thing we want to do is you want to keep this up higher than the little jar there, because you don't want the pump to fill up with brake fluid, because that's the end of your pump. Let me shut him off there. Get rid of what's in the line. Now I'm going to go check the master, probably do it all over again. Alright, so it's a new day. If I sound a bit different, that's because I'm apparently not getting better. I'm just going round in circles with this sickness. Got a hot battery there. Gonna bang it in and see what happens. I did finish wiring up the gauges there. That was a little thing I did last night after I did the brakes, packed it in. But for now, we'll get this thing to see if it will run. choke. As soon as that K flicks back to the on position, it kills it. So we're going to do some more wiring. Alright, so I've spent way too long trying to wire this thing to get it to start and keep running. I bridged that yellow to the pink, didn't change anything. I then adjusted the rod on the column, nothing again. So I'm losing a lot of time just trying to figure this out, and it's really not going to be the forever thing. So jumped online, looked up some things, went on to All Auto Recreations, and they do a bit of a kit for converting points to HEI. So I've ordered one of them in. So that's not going to be for a bit, and so I have to do that at a later date. But for now, what I'm going to do is I've got this fully hectic missile switch, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to run one end to the, sorry, let me start again. I'm going to set this up inside the cab. I'm going to run one wire to the coil, one wire to the battery, and all that will do is once that's in an on position, I'll be able to start the car from the key. The problem with the hot wire is I can't turn it off from the key. So that's where this come in. So that will be a circuit breaker, and I'll be able to flick it off, and I'll be able to turn the car off without having to electrocute myself. So that'll be nice. So I'm just gonna get some wire and put some fittings on there and be happy days. That's it. The thing that I didn't want to do, I did, but it runs and stays running. I don't know what you'd call a professional hot wire, but I think that's pretty close to it. All right, let's, I'll put the camera up on the stands, we'll run it through some gears and see if we've got enough fluid in it. So that's going to do things for this episode. It wasn't really meant to happen, but thanks to me getting COVID, I got a few days off, and that gave me time to get stuck into the one tonner once again. I haven't touched it in 9 months. I haven't looked at it in 9 months, apart from stealing parts off of it, obviously. And it's been a bit sad looking at it. So hopefully in the near future I'll get back into it, do a few more things. I've got some sort of idea what I want to do with it. been doing a lot of research, doing a lot of homework. And until then, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and take it easy.